Okay, so before we watch the show, what do you think the acronym HEAT in the title stands for? So we have HEAT. What do you think that stands for?
So a little bit of predicto casting.
Yeah,
on this
we're
one.
throwing it way back to the real fans.
The real fans back when the show had listenership. This will bring them back.
That's right.
HEAT. Oh man, because it starts with H-E, I want H to be he.
Uh-huh.
He eats all titties.
Oh wow, this is a sexy show.
This is gonna be a sexy show. He's gonna go to lunch. He's gonna go to brunch.
Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Let's see. Okay, HEAT spells heat. Heat, energy, action, thermodynamics.
So it's basically a robot.
Yeah, we don't know.
Okay, we don't know. I think I know this show does not star a robot. I don't know
That's right.
the show stars a robot.
And as we all know, that the acronym KNOW stands for knowledge, now, outward wisdom.
Why do we make that the name of the show?
All right, let's watch this thing. Hello and welcome to Center of Weirdness, the weird podcast about very weird stuff, but mostly it's about weird TV episodes. I'm Josh, and with me as always is my hot buddy, Skinner.
Hey everybody, my code name is Thumbnail.
Oh man, what is my thumbnail? What is my thumbnail? What is my code name?
Your code name is Wikipedia.
My code name is Forgetful. So right up top, we're balls deep in the summertime.
We're in the HEAT dome.
That's right. We're in the heat dome. It's summertime. It's very hot in a good portion of the country right now. While we're recording this, and we thought that it made perfect sense to talk about something that's real hot. And that's why, of course, we're talking about the television program Acapulco H.E.A.T. From 93-4, and then also other years. We'll explain about that. But up top, you heard us predict what we thought the HEAT acronym stood for. And I do not remember what it was because they do say it in the show, but very quickly.
I do have it in front of me.
Okay, thank goodness.
I think based on tone, I was closer. Based on the opening credits.
I guess.
I mean, at least one of my words was there.
Okay.
But the actual actually stands for, and this is, by the way, just up front, this is terrible. Hemisphere Emergency Action Team. And at one point they called them the Heat Team. So then the Hemisphere Emergency Action Team.
They're the ATM machine of action teams.
The Student Union building.
So, all right. Acapulco H.E.A.T, which initially ran for 22 episodes, a single season, 93-94. That is the series that we are covering. But I guess we should maybe dig into what is going on here, because it also came back in 98 for a sort of sequel series, which has some returning cast, but mostly new people. You can find both seasons on Tubi. They're listed as season 1 and 2. But we watched season 1. I did not realize that they were separated by a span of 4 years. And you also found out, Skinner, that there's maybe even more programming with the Acapulco H.E.A.T
universe.
Yes.
So basically, this show was co-produced with a lot of European production companies.
That makes sense.
It's world traveling.
That's
or
right.
one hotel. But It was, I guess, more popular overseas, you might say. So the
Sure.
second series was made specifically and only for European distribution.
Ah.
Years after the first one was there, we only have two characters coming back. We have Kat and Tommy. That is, and mind you, their code names, just in case you want to know, High Dive and Backflip. So they are back. The rest of the cast is not. It's years later. One is busy being married to various people.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that.
And that runs for 26 more episodes. Through it eventually gets to syndication in America in 98, 99. But it did originally air in 97, still 3 years after the first one. But if you were in America, for some reason, if you were a big Heat fan, you were maybe wondering why it took 4 years for season 2 to come up, which I can't imagine that's a single person. I looked at the producers, who basically this was their only thing. The Max and Michelin Keller.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2015, there is a IMDb page for, but has no cast or people for. So I think from what I look at, it looks like it was a pitch that may not have been picked up. Not sure.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be.
But it's a slide deck of like mood pieces. But we have Miami H.E.A.T, which would have had Mike Savage, who is the main character on the season 1, assemble a group of Hemisphere Emergency Action Teams people for terrorism worldwide. I can't imagine that they would have gotten away with calling a show Miami Heat.
Yeah, probably not. That seems, I think, impossible. I don't think you could do that.
I mean, the first thing, like, here, you're in the pitch room with this team, and you want to bring back 16 years later this show that no one remembers, except for maybe in Luxembourg. And you're like, I want to bring back Mike Savage from the first season. We're going to call the show Miami Heat. And then somebody in the room goes, why would you do that? Are you going to call it the New York Yankees? Are you going to call it the Detroit Tigers? You can't call it Miami Heat. Pick call it the Jacksonville Heat. Call it Orlando Heat.
I thought you were going to say call it the Jackson 5.
Call it Dade County Heat. Just any other place. There's one place you can't call Heat is Miami, and that is the city you picked.
I think you buried the lead a little bit, though. You were saying that the Kellers didn't have much to their name. My friend, you got to go back a little bit, because they not only were executive producers on one of Wes Craven's early TV movies, Summer of Fear, but they were also producers on Deadly Blessing, another Wes Craven movie, and Voyage of the Rock Aliens, I think pretty well-known 80s kind of cheese fest a little bit, and then a bunch of Tarzan TV movies. So they got some stuff going. It's not just Acapulco Heat.
I feel like we should have done at some point for Particular Cast Tarzan in Manhattan.
Yes, I feel like that feels like one. For a while there, I thought we did cover Summer of Fear, but apparently not. Okay, so this show is
terrible.
It's terrible. And I guess before we get into the episode, we should talk about
the episode we didn't pick.
No,
we can't. But
we can't. There was okay. Well, I'll just say it. We read the synopsis of these shows, and we were like, oh, some of these seem pretty funny. And there was one that jumped out to us because it mentioned karate. And we were like, oh, great. Love karate in the 90s. It's probably bad. And somebody has to go undercover in a karate competition to try to rescue someone. Great. Cool. Awesome. So we start watching it. And this show has the very generous, they're very generous in that they tell you what the episode is going to be about before you watch it. They're like, this time on my Acapulco, I said Miami Heat. This time on Acapulco Heat, and they give you essentially what the episode is going to be about. So you can kind of prepare yourself like, cool, I'm going to see some cool stuff. And that one immediately launched into them having to go to Israel for something. And we were like, well, this probably is not the right thing for us to be covering right now. So we backed out and we decided we would pick something completely different. And that led us to talk about the episode that we were covering today, episode 11 from season 1, original air date December 4th, 1993, codename Perfect Specimen.
There is karate in this episode.
This is true.
But the karate guy is not part of it.
No, that is true. That is a naming convention for each of these shows, though. Code name always comes before the episode title, which I appreciate. It's also very funny that they name all of their episodes code names. All the characters have code names, but in this episode, they do not use those code names at all.
I wonder if like the episodes where like certain writers always have them use their code names and certain writers just didn't give a shit. I assume it's because the cast is so fucking gigantic and generic looking that they were like at some point after like episode 2 were like, no one's gonna remember who any of these people are unless we have a single name for them, because they're on comms in combat where the other comm was stolen. And they're just saying their real names, which is the exact opposite time you'd use code name. I do also like that the titles of the episode, it's code space name.
And the lead of this show is an actor, Catherine Oxenberg. And as we were watching it, I was like, she looks familiar to me, but I'm not totally sure where I know her from. And then you pointed out that a lot of people might know her if you watched the NXIVM documentary, The Vow, because she is the mother who is trying to get her daughter out of NXIVM. She's kind of, as a documentary can have a main character, she is one of the main characters. We spent a lot of time with her, and her daughter was also the subject, I believe, of a separate documentary where she was trying to get out, or after she had gotten out. I think, I'm not totally positive, but I'm pretty sure that's how it went. So Catherine Oxenberg was like a lot of people would know her because she was in I think it was it Seduced? Was it what it was? I think that's the second.
Yes, Seduced is inside the cult. That's The Vow, I think, is the first one, isn't it?
Yes, she was in the. No, I think I'm not totally sure. I think
so.
Maybe
The Vow is the one from HBO.
Okay,
and she's in that.
Yes, and then Seduced is the other one.
Seduced is the other one that's on Stars, and she's also in that. I think that's
yes.
more. I think that's more specifically about her daughter.
That's okay. Yes, that's the one about her daughter. So I was right. Yes. So that's
like
crazy.
That's crazy. She's also a Yugoslavian princess. She's also was married for nine whole days to Robert Evans.
Yes, Robert Evans, famed Hollywood producer, apparently crazy man. I've never read his documentary or his book, Kid Stays in the Pictures, but everyone says that you should if you're interested in weird 70s Hollywood shit, because I mean the guy's a legend but also a lunatic, known for producing a ton of films, like crazy stuff, and also stuff that you wouldn't necessarily know about, like Urban Cowboy and like Chinatown and like these big kind of sort of important movies in
The Godfather.
In sort of the history of film, but then also like produced The Saint, the Val Kilmer movie based on
the great movie by Val Kilmer.
Yeah, the Val Kilmer movie based on the TV show How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Like, dude is
The Phantom. The Phantom had everyone's favorite movie Slam Evil.
Slam Evil. But yeah,
which is what she was doing to get her daughter out of the cult. She also, you may know because her daughter is named India Van Dien, that she also married at Graceland Wedding Chapel, Las Vegas, Casper Van Dien,
Yeah,
who's been on Hot Diggity Dog.
that's right. It's crazy. Like once that clicked into place, I was like, holy shit, she is incredibly fascinating. Her life is incredibly fascinating. And like a small part of it is that she was also on this weird ass TV show.
And like everyone else is basically nobody, except Fabio is a regular character on the show, but not in the episode we are watching.
Yeah, he's only in like 16 of the 22 episodes of the first season. I guess he is a you said he owns like the hotel where they're like based out of in Acapulco.
Yeah, so their Bat Cave is in a hotel, and so most of the show is shot.
So is most of the show. Yeah, the opening credits are great because not only do you get like a long little like preamble telling you what the show is about this week, and so you know what to expect, but then you also get this very long credit sequence where it introduces way too many characters. There are too many characters who have on-screen titles on this show.
The regular cast, and I'm just talking everyone who gets on-screen titles, are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people.
10 people.
10 people. They all are given equal time in the coverage at the start. Well, this song plays, and
there's not even that thing that they used to do where when people were like that you've seen in other like sitcoms and things or other shows where they were like maybe less important characters, they like doubled up so you saw them on screen at the same time.
You could so easily put Tommy and Marco in the same shot.
Yes.
But no, everyone, like, they all get a scene where they are doing what they do, and then their name, and then their name, and then they get, like, we see Tommy Chase, codename Backflip, who has a Zen warrior mentality. We get to see him do some karate, and then see him strike a kata, and then in a silhouette to the sky. Like, everything. It's too many people. It is too many cooks.
It's that you get to see like it's like three different like shots of them doing stuff. So it's not just like a quick shot and then their name. Like
it is almost
like you're with them for a minute before like it jumps to the next person.
It is almost from the point where they tell you what the episode is going to be, and all the 10 people, all the women who are must have the dirtiest chests in the world. They had to keep watching them in their bikinis. One we see like 4 times, I think, between the but like in this music playing, it's almost 3 full fucking minutes before the show starts.
We should go through the characters because we see all of these people with the exception of Fabio. Like all of them are in this episode in some
it's important
way
because will let everyone know who we're talking about, and everyone's watching along very carefully. And 2, there's not much to say about the episode.
No, I mean, there's a little bit, but not really. Okay, so we have. I'm not going to go through their last names unless their last names are interesting. I'm going to tell you all their last names because they're way too long for they like really went into this. So you have Ashley Hunter Coddington. That's Catherine Oxenberg. She's the sort of main character. Her code name is Sarong.
By the way, their whole thing is they are a beach fashion house and photography and designers, and that's their covers. Most of them are models.
Yeah, her character is the daughter of an ambassador, which is really interesting given her actual heritage. So we have her. We have Ashley, who is Sarong. We have, I guess, the sort of secondary lead, Mike Savage, who is codename Platform, and I don't know why. Like, I guess Platform is like, but we see him playing a video game later, so I'm wondering, like, is he just good at platform games?
He doesn't, because he plays. Well, to get into it, but he plays so poorly. I've never seen a control pad used worse.
I mean, we are like almost a half hour in. We haven't even talked about the episode yet, but
we haven't talked about the Genesis game or the Genesis music yet.
Because there's not much to it. So
no, but he's supposedly a photographer for the agency. Maybe like he takes pictures of women on platforms. He is terrible. How was this guy the number 2 person on the show? He's on the show so much, and it's so clearly you're supposed to find him charming,
Yeah.
but he is nothing.
I didn't even think to look to see.
He doesn't have a Wikipedia page.
He doesn't have a Wikipedia page, but I'm curious, like, what his IMDb looks like. Oh no, he's okay. So he's been in some things. He was in the Angel Has Fallen movie, which is one of those like White House Has Fallen kind of things. He was in Den of Thieves with Gerard Butler. I guess he must be buddies with him. He was in an episode of CSI New York. He was in one of the TV movies in the Jesse Stone series with Tom Selleck.
If you don't know what Jesse Stone is, it's 900 made for TV movies, and they're all available in a bin at Walgreens.
Yeah, he's in the Lizzie McGuire movie. He's in a few episodes of Oz, like 4 episodes of Oz, which that's kind of a big deal. He's in Con Air. He's a random guard in Malcolm X. So like he's been in some stuff. He's in Due South, my Canadian friend.
Well, I imagine at some point Due South is going to come up on the show, and probably Megan will do with us.
He's only in 1 episode of Due South, sadly.
He seems like a 1 episode kind of guy.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he's gonna be doing a whole lot. All right, so we got platform. We got Catherine, Cat, Avery, Pascal, who is, I guess, an ex-cat burglar, who has joined the team to basically avoid a prison sentence.
She's the Suicide Squad. Remember the
yes,
team.
Exactly. She's got a bomb in her brain, and if she doesn't do it, they're gonna blow it up. She poses one of the models. Her codename is High Dive, which is interesting. These codenames don't mean anything. Like they don't mean anything. We got Brett Richardson, who is a former Navy SEAL and weapons expert. He's also poses as a model. His codename is Deep End.
So high dive and deep end. So
okay,
it's pools and platform you dive off of.
Oh,
so
they are all like beach platformy diving things, because the next person, Chrissy, is a computer expert, and her codename is Springboard.
So they're just different parts of the pool.
Okay, well, yeah, we're about to get there because we have Marcos Chavez. This guy gets his ass beat several times in this episode, and he's like a undercover mission expert, and he does like transportation and things like that. His codename is Agua Azul.
Luckily, no one says that one out loud in the entire episode,
because this is the only non-white person on the team.
So they couldn't give him a English codename.
We have Tommy Chase, who's the Zen Warrior mentality guy that we talked about. He's also a model. His codename is Backflip.
His buttons are so undone. He's showing off so much titty.
We have Arthur Small. He is not part of the team necessarily. He doesn't go out on missions, but he owns the beach fashion enterprise, the Acapulco H.E.A.T beach fashion, which serves as the cover. He does sort out logistics. We see him in the opening credits get pushed into a pool, which is pretty funny. We have Claudio Devanti, who is Fabio. He owns the hotel where they have their headquarters. And he doesn't really do much. He doesn't go out on missions or anything. I think this is probably just a fun cameo. And then finally, we have Mr. Smith, who is kind of their like Bosley or Charlie, who gives them messages and missions to go on for C5, which is a secret government group.
I wish it was also about like diving instead of like a vertebrae.
I mean, it kind and it's like a various like UN nations comprise C5, and apparently he's this actor John Vernon, who's been in a bunch of stuff. He's a Canadian actor. Is never on the show proper. He never interacts with the people. He's only seen via video link. So very much like Charlie's Angels. And yeah, that's our team. All 10 of those fucking people get their credits shown on screen.
And on this podcast.
Yes, and on this podcast. Well, we have to explain who we're talking about so people know what we're saying when we're saying an Agua Azul gets beat up.
Twice, I think.
So anyway, finally, after all of that preamble, much like the show, much like telling you what the show is about, who the characters are, we're going to get into what this episode proper is about. We get our sexy intro. We see, and I just realized too that we see this agent who is running through the jungle, and he comes upon this compound and he starts taking pictures of it. And then he gets found by these guards, and he's chased through the jungle, and they shoot at him, and he dives away. And we don't ever find out what happened to that guy. Like, I guess he died.
I know they shoot the ground at a lot of people, but we're only told that one person is bulletproof.
Well, I assumed that because the mission, to not get too far ahead, the mission is to go and find out what happened to that guard or what happened to that agent and figure out what is going on at this compound. But unless we missed it, they never talk about the agent. They never find out what happened to him. I assumed that they were going to meet him like in the jungle, and he was going to be like belligerent and out of his mind and like spouting some stuff, because spoiler, this episode is about a genetically engineered Superman. And Superman, that's right, because he was developed by Dr. Super. See our episode on Wishman for that joke to make sense.
And also one of the characters says Superman.
But like, I assumed that maybe they would like find him in the jungle, and maybe he would reveal like, oh, there's a big giant out there, and they'd be like, what are you talking about? He's out of his mind. And then they would come upon they would come upon Montana, the Superman, and they would understand what was going on. Like, that's kind of the setup that you're making, but they just ignore the fact that there's an agent probably murdered in the jungle. So we cut back to their base, where we get Mike playing a video game with Chrissy, and they're playing this like robot fighting game, like a kind of Mortal Kombat-esque fighting game. But this jumped out to you because of how Mike is holding this controller.
Well, he's not so much holding it. He has his Sega Genesis controller. I don't know if you're not too young, you know what it looks like. He's got it flat on the ground, and he's just hitting both sides of it with one finger as fast as possible. So like there was buttons on both sides. He never picks it up or uses his thumb or anything to manipulate the control pad. He is just hitting it with one finger back and forth.
He's just that good.
He's just that good. It is I understand there's still, not the cultural saturation of, I don't know, only 70% of the population that played Nintendo by 1993, but he's older, and people, adults didn't do that kind of thing back then. But his absolute it reminded me of every celebrity in 2001 making sure to tell Conan that they don't even know what an email is.
Do you think that this was a real game?
Yes, I think I have seen it before.
Oh,
I remember it being a not good game.
Oh, I was looking up like 1993 robot games, and the first one that popped up is Cyborg Justice.
I mean, there's a lot of robot games in the 90s.
Let's see, robot fighting games. It might be Cyborg Justice, actually. I think that might be what it is. I'm looking at like a walkthrough right now to see if it is. That's what it is. It is
perfect.
100% Cyborg Justice. Like, I'm looking at a screen right now, and it's like, it's less a fighting game and more kind of a platformer, but like which makes sense given his name. But then robots will show up and you fight them, like kind of like a fighting game. It's sort of like a street beat 'em up style.
I would bet it does neither well.
Yeah, you build your own robot, and then you fight other robots, and it blows up and stuff. Which kind of, given my Given my prediction for what heat meant, we might both be right.
Possibly.
Yeah, so they're playing a game. They get a message from Mr. Smith, basically telling them they're going to go to this small island in Venezuela to look for this missing agent and to find out what Dr. Kaufman. They keep saying Kaufman.
They never say Kaufman a single time.
It's Kaufman.
Kaufman.
What he's working on, because he has a facility there. So it's weird because they sort of imply that they say that they know who this is because he's a geneticist who has worked with various terrorist organizations before. So they know he's a bad guy, but they just don't know exactly what he's doing, except that he's a geneticist who is doing something in the jungle and he's worked with terrorists before. So probably something bad. So they're all going to head out and they're going undercover so they can try to get close to Kaufman.
Which means Platform gets to grow the world's shittiest Van Dyke.
It's funny that it goes unremarked upon because it is so bad, and like I'm curious, did he just have that and they were like, this is like, is that real, or is it that like he grew it for that episode and then he shaved it off for the beginning and the end? Like, that's the only thing I can think of because it looks too real to be fake, because I feel like this show would not do fake mustaches and beards very well. Like, I feel like it's too cheap for that. So I feel like this is this guy's actual facial hair.
It has to be, but like he also, it's at least 6 days at tops, I would hope.
I mean, maybe.
I don't know what it added, considering the rest of them are just dressed as themselves.
Yeah, nobody else is wearing like fake
well, I mean, Kat's
hair.
wearing a wig sometimes. But I think it's her she wears a wig in the hotel room at one point, but I don't think I think her real hair is what she wears at the casino.
Yeah.
But like, it doesn't make him look more Texan.
Oh, it's 100% his real facial hair, because if you go through his IMDb page, you can see a few photos. He doesn't have many, but he has a photo of him at the Lizzie McGuire movie event. And I think he's with his daughter, and he has a goatee that is pretty much laid out exactly like it is in the show.
It is a bad choice. And this is the man who is a very everyman looking fella.
Yeah.
But considering his entire thing, okay. Most of the episode takes place in a fake looking casino and he's trying to play the Texan from The Simpsons. Except he's doing a very, 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 very poor job of it.
He is a combo of like rich Texan from The Simpsons and then the guy that Kramer bets with at the airport in Seinfeld.
Yes. It's none of that requires him to have this facial hair because no one knows who he is. He's not famous.
Yes.
Like, he's not the most famous photographer.
I feel like this is an actor choice. Like the actor was like, you know what? We're going undercover. I'm gonna grow out my facial hair, which makes me now wonder and makes me curious to watch another episode to see if whenever he goes undercover, he also has a goatee. He's wearing like a full-on white suit. He's got a bolo tie, big hat. He's got fucking spurs on his boots. Like, it feels ridiculous. And it feels like if you were to ask someone to come up with the most stereotypical Texas guy that you could, they would still be missing a few things that he's wearing in the show.
It's mostly a belt buckle.
Yeah.
I don't know. This guy is so lump of clay nothing that like him trying to like show personality with clothes just makes it like worse.
Yeah, and he and Ashley, our lead, Sarong, they kind of have like this sort of will they, won't they kind of relationship sort of thing going on. And
you know what's really weird about that? And you don't see in these shows very often, but it is kind of like maybe like an interesting choice, is that we have a show full of, especially by 1993 standards, and I'm sure they today, gorgeous people.
Yeah, there's some good looking people. The guy playing, is it Brett, the one with the great hair?
Yeah, he's great looking. Marco is great looking. The karate guy is got a great bod. The women are beautiful. One's a princess.
Yeah.
He looks like a dad from a CBS sitcom.
It's very weird. He does kind of stand out in a weird way.
It'd be like, instead of like on Renegade or something like that, instead of like, you know, like the super, like, because usually the male lead doesn't want to be outshone by every single person in the cast. It's, I mean, like, maybe if he was like, and usually when that happens, usually when like the soft, doughy nobody is the main romantic lead, and like all the younger junior members of the team are, you know, 10 out of 10s, it's because the person is a movie star or big TV star who's come to do the show, and the show is only based on their pre-fame. He's nobody.
Yeah.
And at this point, he's even more nobody. So like, it's not like,
it's very bizarre.
It is. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, why would you pick this guy? Like, does Luxembourg really dig this guy's charm?
I guess. I mean, I will say, speaking of Brett, I just happened to look at his IMDb page, and I think we'll see him again because he is in Acapulco Heat, of course. We've seen him here. Great, beautiful. He's also in an episode of Silk Stockings. He's in an episode of Pacific Blue. He is in a couple episodes of Baywatch.
The Center of Sexy is all about those shows, and we will be revisiting every single one of them at some point.
Yeah,
we almost did this time.
Yeah, he's in some show called The Beachcombers.
I know what that is.
Oh, do you? And he's also in a show, well, called Neon Rider, which is
that has to be Canadian.
It's some guy goes to a ranch, and then he makes it into a place for troubled teens.
That's what you would do. Yeah, Canadian TV show. Yep.
There you go. Perfect. But yeah, so yeah, I don't understand how they came to the consensus that this guy, and there's nothing against Brendan Kelly as a person. It's just very interesting that he sticks out so much in the like plethora of beautiful people that are on this show.
It stands out, and he just has so much screen time. Like, if you came onto this randomly like we did today, you would go like, he must have been somebody. Not then, but like 10 years earlier. Like, this is the last gasp, and he's like, okay, I'm done doing. I've been in theaters. I've been on good TV shows. I've been good direct. I've been on okay, direct to TV movies. Now I'm going to do the syndicated show where I just hang out with hot people.
Yeah, I mean, you have like all of these, and it makes sense that they're all models, and it's also kind of funny that like they pretend to be models and he just pretends to be the photographer. And
he has that photographer creepy look. He looks like you're welcome. Where you look like, like you could do something skeevy at any time, especially with a goatee.
That is the vibe I'm trying to cultivate. That's something that I'm going for. That's why I never cut off my beard, because I know I know that if it's just a goatee, things are going to get real nasty.
And I know you're a Southern boy, and everyone can hear it in your voice still. But like, I don't think your ginger complexion can take the Acapulco H.E.A.T.
No, probably not.
Maybe a lobster.
So they're down there, and while they're pretending to be these, he's the Texan guy, and then she is somebody else, and they like I said, they have this like
they're a married couple.
Are they married?
That's their cover. They're both loudmouths.
They're married. Okay, but they have this like will they won't they kind of vibe, because it seems like his whole thing is like, I'm trying to wear you down so you'll go on a date with me.
Yeah, they have a whole conversation about like, do you like it when I say no? And he's like, I'd rather you say yes. And then I read in the Wikipedia that he gets jealous of Fabio hitting on her. Yeah. Guess what? In real life, Fabio wins.
Yeah, well, I think that makes him the everyman, because everyone can relate to that. But so they're doing that while two other teammates, oh God, what are their real names? I don't want to call them by their stupid code names. this is Brett
And Marco.
and Marcos. Yeah, they're out there.
No, you could say. No one says agua azul, so you can say it.
But Brett and Marcos are out into the jungle, and they are trying to find this facility, which they do very easily. And they're spying on this and trying to figure out what's going on. And
hey, what happens?
Well, so Marcos goes and he plants a device in the in this lab where we have a very
that's like 90% of their playbook is we planted a bug.
Yes, they do that quite a few times in this. There's a very long scene between him and Brett where they kind of like rock paper scissors who gets to go plant the bug, and he heads off to do it. He's being very sneaky. He plants the little device, which looks just like a little bitty tiny lens. There's a doctor in there who's doing some research, and his voice is just obviously dubbed, like clearly dubbed. It's
a fake beard.
It's very bad. That's why I knew that Mike's goatee was for sure real, because this fake beard on this guy, you spot it immediately. But as he's planting this device, he then gets caught by some guards, and he's able to beat them up pretty easily. He does some like wrestling moves, flies through the air. Pretty cool. Good, decent stunt work.
This sounds like it's a lot of work because they're breathing very heavily.
Yes, decent stunt work. But he takes out these two guys and then immediately is ambushed by a third guy, a very tall, crazy looking guy who's big and blonde and very in shape. Looks a little bit like David Prowse, the guy who played Darth Vader in the original Star Wars movies. Big guy, beats him up and carries him off into the jungle. And like he just kind of leaves him there.
The characters do mention that later. Like, I can't believe he just didn't kill you.
Yes.
I guess it's because he's a nice guy.
Yes, yeah. The big giant who will learn his name Montana is actually a good. He's sort of the giant with a heart of gold or whatever. Like he's a good guy, but he's just been kind of forced into a bad situation.
He's kind of childish. His background isn't so clear that why he would be so childish.
They never really go into any sort of details, and I want to dig into it in just a minute. But like,
he's a nuclear man.
That's right. He does. He looks like, just to get out of the way, he looks very much like the nuclear man from Superman 4 and
the best one,
and Rocky Horror from the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes,
like
it's very. I mean, like, there is an extended part of this show where he will not put on a shirt.
No, he's just running around in chinos in the jungle.
Which is great. Like, this is a show where no one should wear a shirt except for our main character.
Yeah.
But like,
it's funny because they're in the heat of Venezuela, and he is in a suit buttoned all the way to the neck.
Yes, but like, I love how pressed and nice in this middle of this jungle his slacks are.
Yeah. it's pretty funny. But like at the casino, we cut back there and we see that we see Kaufman winning some hands. He's a good poker player. He leaves and goes to the bar, and this is when Ashley kind of makes her way in and introduces herself to him, tries to get him talking to her. At the same time, Mike, as his Texas character, introduces himself to Crystal, Kaufman's girlfriend. And we thought that there were lots of things where this could go, because we're told very early on in that little here's the episode you're about to watch segment that we're going to see a genetic Superman. And so immediately I started thinking, oh, maybe she's also like some sort of genetic, superwoman. And at some point we get a little scene where they're talking to the doctor is talking to Montana, our Superman, and Montana gets upset because he wants to see his sister who's sick, and Dr. Kaufman's like, no, you can't see her, she's too sick, and it's not right for you, and we don't want to mess up our work or make you sick. And he's like, no, I want to see her. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll arrange a trip to see your sister. And I thought, oh, this woman, Crystal, his girlfriend, is also his sister, and she's also been genetically engineered, and it's a whole thing. And like, no, none of that. The show could not be bothered.
That whole scene where she's talked down to, mind you, dudes talk down to women all the time, not
Sure.
out of the ordinary. But he talks to her like she's also. He talks to her like he talks to
The
genetically
Montana.
made.
Yeah, exactly.
And like go tell her to go back to her room like it's like
she's a child.
Like she's a child or she's an experiment.
Yes.
And she's also the only like big statuette blonde person.
Yes, and yeah, that's the thing, is that like you hire another beautiful blonde person who looks too much like Ashley, by the way, but like she has a different haircut, so it's fine. But like you have this beautiful statuesque blonde person and woman, and then you have another big statuesque blonde man, and you're talking about a sister, and I'm not supposed to connect those things.
And the way that he talks to her, the fact that she acts kind of stiltish and childish with about like the other man.
Yeah.
And like also she's like, you know, the doctor is this old just small looking dude.
He looks like Gary Oldman in Tiptoes. So
yes. Like
he looks like Jeff Foxworthy with glasses on.
You know, he within seconds of meeting Ashley is like, you know, like bragging about how well he'll fuck her.
Yeah.
But like his girlfriend or whatever it is like 7 inches taller than him in the jungle.
Short king,
but like he's about to get dethroned by throwing.
Yeah. Well, okay. So like there's
toss the rich.
Yeah. So basically, they bring Marcos, not Aqua Azul.
Marcos.
They bring Marcos back to the hotel where they're staying, and he explains like, oh, I got ambushed and I got beat up by this big giant. And
he exaggerates it in some weird way.
Yes.
Which I don't know if it's a script problem or a him problem.
Yeah, I think it's probably a him problem because he, got a big head injury. He says he used me for handball practice, which we thought was very funny because that is not an American kind of thing necessarily that you would think of. Like,
no, it's very European. Like, that's one of their top sports in Germany. So
yeah, that makes sense. So back at their home base, that's where Chrissy and Backflip are, and they're talking about some chemicals and things, and they're rerouting some stuff, but I don't even really know what that is. I think maybe that is the DNA, like that's some sort of DNA sample that they get later, I think, but I don't even remember how they end up getting the DNA sample of Montana. It's a little jumbled what the chemicals are supposed to do, and like
I got so bored with the casino stuff that I kind of faded out.
Well, the only reason I bring it up, because ultimately it doesn't totally matter because those characters are not really in the plot, but they do something. They send him some chemicals or something. I don't remember.
Crime chemicals.
but they said they're going to reroute them, and then Mike's concern, he's like, "Hey, this isn't going to make me have some 3-legged babies or anything, is it?" And this leads Backflip to say, "No, but we hope it'll do something for your hair, because Mike is got some male pattern baldness. His hairline is a little bit further back, and currently the guy is bald.
He should have been bald at this point. He would look at least like Stone Cold Steve Austin with his goatee.
Sure, he's
go chickless.
Yeah, his hair is creeping back a little bit, and it's like, all right, well that sucks because that's not something the actor can really help. And
that felt like the producers taking a shot at him.
That feels like a weird sort of flippant joke, and it's kind of dumb. But then, and again, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because of his response, which is, and I don't understand this, grass never grows on a busy street.
It completely...
I'm like, what does that mean?
Chrissy goes absolutely nuts. She cannot believe he said this. I assume it means his head is down under.
That's what I was thinking. That's what it must mean. It has to mean that.
which is an incredibly dirty joke to make in this show. I get that this show is all about girls in bikinis. No, we only see them in the song,
Yeah.
which is par for the course for these shows. So
Sure.
the opening song is 10 times as lewd as the show.
Yeah.
But like him making that joke, like what else would his head at the top of his head be busy doing?
I don't know.
Like, rolling around the peach pit.
But that also implies that he's balding. He's got like balding pubic hair then.
Maybe he's done down there, so he goes up top.
Oh, that's true. Oh, and that explains. Oh, that explains why he's got he's got a goatee in this part, and then it's gone when he gets home.
It's a busy time up there.
Yeah. So we see them. We see Kaufman talk to the genetic man, like we discussed. Mentioned his sister. They plant some more bugs on various things of Kaufman's. He Brett shoots a little dart at a wall, and he finds out about like some sort of presentation at this facility that they've been spying on. So they follow them to the facility, and it's a presentation of Montana and his perfect specimen ways. And Kaufman tells the assembled people, pick a weapon and try to kill him. And they do try to do that. They shoot at him a bunch, but he just runs away and then starts jumping through the air onto buildings, down onto people, killing them, blowing up things. It's great. And they have a very funny, like, the music in this show kind of goes all over the place. Like sometimes it's good. Sometimes it sounds like video game music. Sometimes it sounds like someone just hitting a key on a Casio. And then you get this where it's like a full-on real sounding song. Like I don't think that this was made for the show. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's got lyrics that are not like, they're not like the kind where you might expect where it's like telling you what is happening in the show, but like it's like a full-on early 90s rock song. And that scene goes on for like three or 4 minutes of him just running around while very vibrantly colored cars blow up.
It's a good song. I mean, like compared to the Sega Genesis music that played a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just one of those ones where it felt like when the lyrics kicked in, I was like, oh, this is a song, because it doesn't sound like it at first.
Yeah.
But then that just kicks in, and I'm like,
and maybe we're wrong. Maybe they just had a good music team who made a whole song.
Maybe they just have Tripping Daisy on staff to make songs for various fight scenes. That's a 90s deep cut.
Yeah, I was trying to see if maybe there was like if they had anything about the music in it, but like I can't.
Maybe VH1 could do it inside the music of Acapulco H.E.A.T season 1 only.
Yeah, exactly.
That probably got somebody a concert in fucking Monaco.
Yeah. So they have this big presentation. Shit blows up. It's great. And again, somewhere around here, they get his DNA, and I don't understand how, but it doesn't matter because they find out that his cells, basically whatever they've done to him, his cells have like expanded or increased in some sort of way that essentially it's going to kill him within like the next 5 years. And so that brings up the thing that I wanted to discuss, which is like, was that already a problem? Like, did he have the same thing that his sister had, and then it's been accelerated by the genetic conditioning? Why was he picked for this thing?
Let me check the script. It says they don't care.
Okay, fair. But like, I'm very curious because like at one point, basically because he gets mad and wants to see his sister, he leaves, and then the doctor's like, find us another test subject because he's getting too big for his britches, and we need to get rid of him.
Make sure this one doesn't want to fuck his sister.
But like, what? I mean, but like, what are they gonna do? like, what are they going to do? Like, how are they going to kill him if he's unstoppable? Because when they see this demonstration, they're like, he's the real deal Man of Steel. He's like completely bulletproof. You're like,
they just shoot at his feet a lot.
you're like, it's not really. He just ran away.
I don't like. They don't go anywhere with the replacing him thing.
No.
And maybe if they had more time to flesh this out, if there was like maybe only 6 characters in the credits, they'd have a few more minutes to like say like, here's what's going on. But they had to have a reason for him to turn on them besides the sister. Like, do them saving him stop him from dying early, or do they slow it down?
No, nothing happens because basically they find out that not only does he have now less than 5 years to live, but that his sister has also been dead for 2 months, and
neither of them are going to see the towers fall.
And then Kaufman has been lying to him essentially all this time, but like again, it doesn't like. What is the plan? Like the plan is to sell him, I'm assuming, to or sell people like him to other governments or terrorist organizations.
It's weird that like though it was really poorly stated and the plan made no sense, at least there was given a very specific reason why they made the Wishman in Wishman.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it's like, I guess you're making it make him.
It's kind of the same thing, honestly. I mean, a little bit. This is for. I mean, he doesn't have a penis.
Yeah, he's handsome. He doesn't have penises growing out of his head. But otherwise, it's the same thing. Like he, when he meets Platformer, he goes, "Friend." No, but like,
I mean, he is very Frankenstein-esque a little bit, like which I think could be interesting if they had some weird thing, like some sort of superficial like scar or superficial like little plate or something.
Or like something where he seems like he's made of multiple people, like Stitch.
Yeah.
Or maybe like he has electrical powers.
Well, they do electrocute him during one of their tests, like up to 4 times as much as a normal person can take.
So he can fight the Wishman.
That's right. That's what's going to happen is Wishman got sent out into the world as a worker, and he broke free, and now he's a villain, and now they're like he's working for the government to go out and take out people, so they need their own version essentially. So they realize that maybe now that they know his sister's dead, they can use that as sort of like leverage or something to get him to turn on Kaufman and his captors.
Well, of course he'll believe them because they're people he's never met in his life.
That's right. So during all of this, like where they decide to go out into the jungle, they're going to go to the lab and they're going to try to get a bunch of information off the computer. Seems like they know a lot already, so I don't really know what they really need to get off the computer. But while they're doing that back in the casino, Platform, as his Texan character, challenges Kaufman to like a big poker game because he basically says like, "Hey, you've been eyeing my wife."
He's like, "You've been trying to cuckold me."
Yes, essentially.
You're trying to turn me into a cuck.
And I'm sure Kaufman is all about that. So he's.
I'm sure. That's great, but he also because he's upset. He was originally upset that Platform was after his perhaps genetically made girlfriend. So like it is a battle to see who could do it to the other one first.
Yeah, basically. It's like a strangers on a train. Like instead of swapping murders, they're swapping partners.
They don't want to, but they can't help themselves.
That's right.
It's in their DNA.
We swap cucks. And
that's the name of the show now is Acapulco Swap Cups.
So they Acapulco Swap, and SWAP stands for sexy women as partners.
Can we sell it to Discovery Plus or whatever it's called? And WBD will take that. I mean, there is MILF Island now.
That's true. Oh, that's very true. So the crew in the jungle, they get all the stuff they need off the computers. They're about to blow the place up, but they are stopped by Montana, and he's about to beat them up. But they tell him, "Hey, wait, no, your sister's actually dead."
And he believes them immediately.
Yeah, he's like, she's been dead for 2 months, and that's why they won't let you leave. And he's like, "Oh, that makes sense." And they're like, "But you can get even with them. And he's like, all right, I'll do that. So we cut back. Kaufman gets word that there's been an attack on the lab, so he tries to leave. Basically, a platform has beat the shit out of him in poker, has won all this money. He puts it all in his hat,
which then spills on his body.
which spills out, which is funny. And Kaufman tries to leave, and he goes off to the lab. They follow him there, and when he gets there, he is confronted by Montana, who basically is like, I know my sister's dead. And he basically is going to kill Kaufman. I mean, he doesn't kill him, but he throws him really far into the air. He throws him
really, like, that's the end of him. He just gets tossed, like...
Yeah, he gets tossed, and it's a fun little shot of the guy going way up into the air, and then a shot of a stuntman just landing hard on the ground.
That's very, like, Mr. T cartoon, where he's like, just tosses him.
Yeah, he throws him up in the air, he falls down. They blow up the lab, which we've had a couple of explosions throughout the episode. This one is probably the biggest explosion, and the reaction that it gets is the least impressive. People are just kind of like, they just kind of sort of move out of the way as the lab blows up. And then basically Montana is like, they say like, hey, we can help you. We can take you somewhere and try to like figure out what's going on with your cells and see if we can fix the issue so you will live longer. And he's like, no, I've had enough with doctors and needles. I'll figure this out on my own. And then he just runs off into the jungle.
He runs into the jungle in his slacks.
He has a t-shirt on this time.
Yeah.
And so they get back to the base and they explain that like Kaufman's on trial and all of his research has been sent over to like all these various World Health Organizations and stuff and the UN and all that. And he's got 11 counts, so he'll probably go to jail forever, whatever that means. Nowadays, he'd probably get off and it would be fine. And the nerd guy who is not really a part of this episode. He's barely in it. That is Arthur Small. He comes in with a newspaper and reads them a story about a quote Superman saving a family of 4 after a car accident. That he rescues them from this car wreck and then it blows up and it's a whole thing. And they're all like, very happy about that. And then Platform pulls out some poker chips and says, anybody want to play some poker? And then there's like a freeze frame, but the dialogue continues where Ashley's like, you're a cheater. And he's like, I'm not a cheater. You helped me cheat. And blah, blah. And they just go back and forth and the dialogue fades away until we get a clip of next time and then the credits. So yeah, Acapulco Heat. Great show.
Great show. Maybe the best show ever.
Well, I was saying while we were watching it that like, this is, if I had seen this show when I was younger, like this was on 93, 94, so I would have been 8-ish years old, 8 or 9 years old, probably at the heyday. But if I had seen this around that time, maybe a little later, probably like more 11, 12, I would have loved it. Like this would have been a great show because it's stupid. It's very easy to follow, like sort of. I mean, there were some parts that I didn't get, but like you get the broad strokes easy enough and you don't really care about the details. You're not going to like...
No one's ever in trouble on this show, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're never going to like fixate on why is this guy the one they chose to do experiments on? Like why is the sister thing in there? Like none of that. None of that will matter to you. Just be like, yeah, of course that makes sense. This guy, look at him. Like, you don't know if it's the experimentation was done to make him look that way or he already looked that way. They don't really go into any details, but they should have done like a badly photoshopped picture of him with like his head on a really skinny body. Like he's like a Captain America type. Like
they should have like, cause I for a while I thought like I thought they were both genetically modified, him and the girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And they were brother sister. I thought they were just made in a lab.
Yeah, like, and that would be fine.
They never explain like, oh, we found 2 orphans or blah blah blah. It's just like he has a sister. When he said like, when it sounded like he could fly to his sister, like her sister's a normal person,
Yeah.
I was like, wait, why is he so childlike then?
Yeah, well, I was thinking that if it was Crystal, I was like, is he that dumb that he can't hear her talking outside the door? But yeah, it turns out that's not the case. But like, none of those things would matter if I was watching this when I was like 10 or 11 years old. I'd be like, look, those pretty ladies, and look at this like cool action and explosions and stuff, and like that would be all that I would need. And this is that kind of show. Like there's a lot of those types of shows out there, but they were never meant for adults. Like this was not a show that adults would watch. This is a show for teens. Yeah.
Young horny teens.
Yes, exactly. Like preteens, teens, like, oh, look at that pretty lady. Look at like watching the intro, the opening credits, that would be all you would need, like as a boy, to get really invested in that. Like you would see the women drenching themselves in water. This is very much of the same kind of vibe as like Miami Vice and Silk Stockings and like those types of shows where you're like, let's put all the TNA way up front so that when you get to the actual episode and there's really not much of that in it, you don't get disappointed because you're like, well, I saw some stuff in the beginning.
Yeah, when they were saying I feel the heat for 15 fucking minutes, like I felt that was great. I mean, it's a cartoon. Like everyone's, it could be Mask, it could be anything.
Yeah, Thunderbirds or whatever that was.
Right. It's like it's not even at the sophistication of the Batman cartoon or anything like that. The fighting action is basically Power Rangers.
Like, yeah. The fighting is like there's that one scene like we mentioned with Marcos and those guards that's like got some impressive like physical stuff going on in it, but otherwise it's all just very basic.
I'm like shocked Backflip wasn't in one season of Power Rangers, considering he was in Buffy, he was in Saved by the Bell, Pacific Blue. Like he's all these things. Why wasn't he the Yellow Ranger at some point?
yeah, he should have been. It's like
that really handsome one.
Yeah, it's a fun show. I could see us potentially revisiting another episode. We probably want to do a
second season to see what's different.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I would like to see how the show works when it comes back after 4 years.
I want to have you compare that to the second season of Nightman.
Oh, to see what the quality drop is. Like I feel
Could you imagine if Nightman himself was the least attractive person on Nightman?
See, now that's a guy that would have worked in this show. Like he was around, probably working at that time, and was.
You think they all like everyone in one of these hunk shows hung out?
No, probably not.
There's no hunk bar.
No. There's no hunk hangouts happening.
I just want a good dive where like all the hunks from the 90s hunk shows hang out and they're like, man, I wish I was in a movie that goes in theaters.
Yeah, hunk hangout would be a great show. Honestly, that'd be a great show today. Give me like a reality show of like 80s and 90s TV and movie hunks all hanging out.
Just hunk after hunk, and they're jealous of who gets closer to the kitchen and who gets closer to the bathroom.
Yeah, and they have to do competitions and and maybe they go on dates. I don't know.
It would be a great show. So many hunks. Like you could just base them off all these shows. There'd be one former hunk played by Tony Danza. His code name was Tony,
and it would be hosted by Mike O'Hearn.
Baby, don't hurt me no more.
I just want every hunk from Pac Blue, like all the one, just in one place, or they're all just hanging out after work, after breaking down crime. They just go and just hang out at the Hunk Cafe.
Oh, I would love it. It'd be great.
And there'd be so much saxophone.
That would be great. But
and no woman would go near it. Like they would it'd be like the whole city would know, like, you don't go near that place. They're all awful.
But I think that's going to do it for our coverage of Acapulco Heat. But before we go, we've got to rate it on our scale of weirdness. And again, if you're kind of a new listener, I don't know why you would be, but if you're a new listener, that basically is just our rating for the episode. And if it gets weird, we might give it a little more.
Heat.
Exactly. So this is not that weird of a show. Like, it fits very, very squarely in the sort of realm in which it came out. But I'm going to rate it a little bit higher than I might normally, only because of our sort of main character of Mike being this sort of kind of guy that doesn't really fit with the rest of the cast. So I'm going to rate it. I'm going to give it a 7. I think I'm going to give it a 7.
7. I'm going to give it a 6, mostly because of the size of the cast being so large, and them all having code names, but no one ever using the code names.
But not using them. I will say that one in the like next time on segment, you do hear someone say their code name, and I was like, oh, finally.
Oh yeah, I'm like, maybe that's what made me think, like, maybe some of the writers are really into the code names and some of them are like, fuck the code names.
Yeah, they say, oh, watch out, deep end. You're just like, yeah, that's right. Watch out for that.
Otherwise, it's just like, I don't know. Like, the times you would use them, they'd never use them, which is so funny. And this, I can't even picture anyone calling this doughy Christopher Maloney looking motherfucker who's the star of the show, like, anyone calling him Platform. Like, I can't imagine a single time everyone will look at him and go, hey, Platform.
The reason his name is Platform is because he likes women to step on him.
Well, he's down there already.
That's right. He's got no hair on his back either, because it's a lot of action.
It's just what an odd joke to put in there.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. But that's gonna do it for this episode of Center of Weirdness. We hope if you have been a listener for a while, you're appreciating the fact that we are at least trying to release with some regularity again. We will definitely have another episode on its way, hopefully very soon. Maybe if we're still in the summer, we'll have another hot episode. But until next time, whenever that may be, I've been Josh.
And I've been Skinner.
And we want you to keep it hot this summer.
H-O-T.
That stands for hot on tots.
Hot on tape.
Oh, hot on tape. I like that. That should be the name of our podcast.
That sounds less, what's the good word for you shouldn't be hot for tots?
Oh, yeah. Okay, good point. You've been listening to Center of Weirdness. If you like the show, rate and review us wherever you find us, but especially on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to every episode at centerofweird.com, where you can also find all the old Predictocast episodes. And if you want to get in touch with us to tell us about a show we should cover, hit us up on Instagram or Threads at Weirdness Podcast. And as always, thanks for listening.